Confidence is not a feeling. That's where most people get it wrong. They think confidence is some magical emotional state they'll stumble into one day. Like suddenly they'll wake up, all fear and doubt will be gone, and they'll feel ready to take on the world. But real confidence doesn't work like that. Real confidence is not about emotion, it's about choice. It's about action. It's about building a muscle that gets stronger the more you train it. Confidence is a decision. You decide that your growth matters more than your comfort. You decide that fear doesn't get to run the show anymore. You decide that showing up imperfectly is better than staying invisible. It's that simple. Not easy, but simple. Confidence begins the moment you stop waiting and start doing. It's the second you say, I don't feel ready, but I'm going anyway. That's the moment confidence starts to be built, not felt, built. You train it. Every time you speak up when your voice shakes, every time you move forward, even though the fear is whispering, not yet. Because the truth is, waiting to feel ready is one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves. If you only act when you feel 100% certain, you'll stay stuck forever. The most powerful people in the world feel the fear and move anyway. But make no mistake, confidence isn't a one-time decision. It's a decision you make daily. And it's reinforced every time you take action aligned with the person you want to become. Confidence is built in the doing, not the thinking. You don't become confident by sitting around visualizing success. You become confident by earning your own respect, by doing the work, by keeping your promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. Because every time you say you'll do something and you follow through, you tell your brain, I can trust myself. And self-trust is the core of confidence. The people you admire, the ones who seem fearless, powerful, magnetic, they weren't born that way. They trained for it. They failed forward. They did the scary things again and again until the fear had no power left. They didn't wait for confidence. They built it in the fire. Confidence is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, developed, and mastered. The first time you speak on stage, you might shake. The second time, your voice might still tremble. The third time, you may stumble. But by the 10th, you've got power, you've got presence. You're not faking it, you've earned it. That's what repetition does. It turns the uncertain into the automatic. It transforms discomfort into competence. And competence builds confidence. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping more fully into who you already are, before you even fully believe in it. And the only way to step into that version of yourself is through action. You act, you learn, you adjust, you repeat, and with every repetition, you become more aligned with the version of you who knows what they're capable of. Confidence grows when you step outside your comfort zone and survive. When you speak your truth and realize you didn't crumble. When you try something new and the world doesn't end. Every time you stretch yourself, you expand your limits. You raise your baseline. You give yourself evidence that you can handle more than you thought. You can't think your way into confidence. You have to live your way into it. You have to be willing to be seen, willing to fall, willing to be raw and real and vulnerable. That's where the real power is. Not in pretending to have it all together, but in owning who you are and showing up anyway. And yes, the fear will come. The doubt will rise. But those things don't mean you're broken. They mean you're human. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to move with it, to act in spite of it, to look fear in the face and say, you're not driving today. Confidence isn't loud. It isn't boastful. It's quiet. It's steady. It's a deep-rooted belief that no matter what happens, win or fail, rise or fall, you'll figure it out. That's the energy. That's the power. And that kind of confidence, you don't find it. You build it brick by brick, rep by rep, day by day. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. It stops people from speaking, from moving, from trying, from becoming. But fear itself is not the enemy. The real threat is what fear does when we obey it. Every time you let fear dictate your decision, you shrink a little. You start telling yourself a story. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. And the more you tell that story, the more it becomes your identity. Not because it's true, but because you've rehearsed it so many times, your mind believes it. When you avoid fear, you reinforce the idea that fear is bigger than you, that you can't handle it, that you're fragile. And that's not true. But your mind believes what you practice. So if you practice avoidance, you'll strengthen anxiety. But if you practice courageous action, even in the smallest ways, you begin to change what you believe is possible for you. But here's the truth. Identity is not fixed. It's not something you're born with and locked into. Identity is shaped. It's sculpted by what you do. Not what you feel, not what you think, but what you do, especially when it's hard. That's why taking action in the face of fear is one of the most powerful transformations a human being can experience. Because when you move through fear, you begin to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. You stop being the person who runs and start becoming the person who rises. Action is how you take your power back. It doesn't have to be massive or dramatic. Sometimes the boldest thing you can do is make the call, send the email, hit publish, walk into the room. It's not the size of the act, it's the fact that you did it anyway. That you didn't let the fear vote. That you didn't give your fear authority over your future. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Yes, it will feel unnatural at first. But that's how you know it's working. Growth never feels like safety. It feels like friction. But if you can lean into that friction and act anyway, you'll come out the other side stronger, clearer, and more aligned with who you were meant to be. And here's what happens next. Your brain starts to keep score. It starts collecting evidence. Evidence that you are strong, that you are capable, that you can trust yourself under pressure. And when you stack that kind of evidence, your self-picture changes. You no longer see yourself as someone who hesitates. You start to see yourself as someone who executes, someone who's in motion, someone who has their own back. Every time you act while afraid, whether that's raising your hand, having a hard conversation, launching something new, stepping into the unknown, you send a message to your nervous system. You teach it that discomfort doesn't equal danger. You prove to yourself that you can feel the fear and still take the step. That proof becomes a new layer of identity. You're no longer just someone who's trying, you're someone who does. And the more you do, the more trust you build in yourself. That trust becomes the foundation of your confidence. It becomes your inner stability, your unshakable core, because it's built from experience, not theory. This isn't just motivation, it's neuroscience. Every time you break a fear-based pattern and replace it with courageous behavior, you're creating new neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your brain to associate fear with growth, not paralysis. That's how transformation becomes lasting. It's not about hype or willpower, it's about repetition. Consistency. Choosing courage over comfort often enough that it becomes your new default. Because every time you act in the face of fear, you build self-respect. You stop betraying your potential. You stop looking for someone else to save you, and you realize you are the one you've been waiting for. Self-trust isn't built by getting it perfect. It's built by showing up again and again, even when you're uncertain. Fear doesn't disappear, but you learn how to carry it. You learn how to walk with it and still move forward. And that is where power lives, in the quiet decision to show up anyway. Over time, those decisions shape who you are. You're not someone who gets lucky. You're not someone who waits. You are someone who moves. And because you move, you grow. And because you grow, you trust. And because you trust, you become unshakable. Confidence isn't born from perfection, it's born from self-trust. And that's where so many people get stuck. They think they have to be flawless before they can be bold. They believe they have to know all the answers, have the perfect plan, be absolutely certain before they step forward. But that belief doesn't lead to confidence, it leads to paralysis. Real confidence starts when you stop chasing perfection and start building a relationship with yourself based on truth and trust. Perfection is an illusion, a moving target that keeps shifting the moment you think you're close. It's never enough. And if your confidence is built on being perfect, it will crumble the second something goes wrong. But if your confidence is built on self-trust, it becomes unshakable. Because it's not about being flawless. It's about knowing you can handle whatever comes. Every time you say you're going to do something and follow through, you build trust. Every time you speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, you build trust. Every time you take the step without knowing exactly how it will turn out, you build trust. And over time, those small acts compound. They become a foundation, a quiet strength inside of you that says, I've got me. When you trust yourself, you don't have to perform for the world. You don't have to impress or prove. You're grounded in who you are. You know that your value isn't tied to being perfect. It's tied to being present, being real, being in integrity with yourself. That kind of confidence can't be shaken by criticism, comparison, or failure, because it's not about outcome. It's about identity. It's about who you are, not what you produce. Perfectionism, on the other hand, is a mask. It looks like high standards, but underneath it's fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. And the problem with perfectionism is that it tells you that if you ever make a mistake, you've failed. That if you fall short, you're unworthy. That kind of mindset doesn't build confidence, it builds anxiety. It keeps you small. It keeps you stuck. Self-trust is the belief that no matter what happens, you'll show up, figure it out, and move forward. It's not that you never fall, it's that you know how to get back up. It's not that you always have the answer, it's that you know how to find it. And that belief only gets built through action, through doing the work, through showing up even when it's messy. Self-trust is earned. You don't just decide to have it, you cultivate it day by day, decision by decision. But when you release the need to be perfect and focus instead on being consistent, being courageous, and being honest, you start to feel powerful. Not because everything's going right, but because you're showing up in your full humanity. And that's what people really respond to. Not your highlight reel, not your flawless image, your realness, your willingness to stand in your own skin and say, this is me, and I trust myself to grow through this. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You need to be present. You need to be aligned with your values, your voice, and your vision. And most importantly, you need to be loyal to yourself, to your growth, to your journey, to your own potential. Because when you learn to trust yourself, truly trust yourself, there is no situation, no room, no challenge where you don't belong. The most confident people in the world are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who trust themselves enough to fail in public, learn out loud, and keep moving. They don't let one mistake define them because their identity isn't wrapped up in being perfect. It's rooted in resilience. They know who they are. They've done the work. They've taken the hits, kept their word to themselves, and earned their own respect. And that's the foundation that no one can take from them. Self-trust is the quiet anchor that holds you steady when everything else is uncertain. It's what keeps you grounded when the pressure rises. It's what allows you to take risks, speak boldly, and move forward even when you're scared. That's the kind of confidence the world needs. Not flawless, filtered, manufactured confidence, but raw, earned, authentic confidence. And it all starts with trust, not in perfection, not in the outcome, but in you. Unstoppable confidence isn't something you're born with. It's not reserved for the loudest voice in the room, the flashiest resume, or the person with a perfect track record. It's built, and not all at once. It's built moment by moment, day by day, in the quiet decisions you make when no one's watching. It comes from showing up when it's hard, from taking up space when it feels uncomfortable, from rising again and again, especially on the days when everything in you wants to disappear. Confidence isn't a performance. It's not a mask you wear or a persona you fake. It's not about pretending to have all the answers or acting like you're bulletproof. Real, unstoppable confidence is rooted in consistency. It's forged in the fire of repetition, in waking up and deciding to keep moving forward no matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It doesn't mean you don't have doubt. It means you don't let those things decide who you get to be. That's where unstoppable confidence is born, in the daily rise. The relentless decision to keep showing up even when it's inconvenient, even when it's imperfect, even when it's lonely. It's not about motivation, it's about commitment. It's about grit. It's about discipline. And it's about respect. Because when you show up for yourself day after day, you build something stronger than hype. You build self-respect. You build resilience. You build a version of you that you trust. The world responds to people who own their energy, who show up and stay the course, who take the hits and keep standing. Unstoppable confidence isn't loud. It's anchored. It's grounded in truth, in purpose, in relentless forward motion, and it's available to anyone who chooses to rise. Every day, no matter what. Confidence doesn't come from getting it right. It comes from not quitting. It comes from standing back up after every fall, from choosing to believe that your presence matters, your contribution matters, and your dreams are worth the work. You stop looking for certainty and start creating momentum. You stop waiting for permission and start writing your own story. You become the person who follows through even when no one's clapping, even when no one understands yet. That's the kind of confidence that can't be shaken. So taking space is the next level. It means you stop apologizing for your presence. It means you stop shrinking to fit inside someone else's version of acceptable. It means you claim the space that belongs to you in the conversation, in the room, in your career, in your relationships. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for someone to validate you. You give yourself the right to belong right here, right now. Because when you take up space, you're not just doing it for you, you're modeling what it looks like to walk in ownership, to lead with authenticity, to live unmuted. Showing up is the first layer of power. It's the act of choosing yourself before the world does. It's walking into the room when your legs are shaking. It's opening your mouth when your voice wants to hide. It's pushing past your excuses, your perfectionism, your old stories and saying, I'm here. Not because it's easy, not because you always feel ready, but because you've made a decision to grow beyond what you've outgrown. Showing up is not about arrival, it's about activation. When you show up, you activate potential, you activate growth, and you send a message to yourself, I matter, my voice matters, my life matters. But here's the truth, even when you show up and take space, there will still be days when you feel like you're not enough. Days when life hits hard, when momentum stalls, when the voice in your head says, why bother? That's where the third piece comes in, choosing to rise daily. Not occasionally, not when the stars align, daily. Choosing to rise means you recommit every morning. You reset your intention. You reconnect to your vision, and you decide again to play full out no matter what happened yesterday, no matter how uncertain the future feels. You rise anyway.